So, welcome Esther to the podcast. Esther is a friend of mine, and we met in 2019 at an ayahuasca retreat in Peru, and we've kept in touch ever since. So, today I want Esther to share a bit about her healing modalities that she uses with her clients, which I did with her recently in a session, in a past life regression session, and had really good results. Um, she has been on the healing path for a long time. She's certified in many different modalities of hypnosis. So she's going to share a bit about that today and what it's done for her and her clients. So Esther, maybe you could give people a little bit of background about you and what you do.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me here. It's so nice to
Sure.
have this little chat with you all. So, yes, I started my spiritual journey with ayahuasca, actually. Um, Ayahuasca and Cambo is really what opened me up about 10 years ago. It's what opened me up to the world of spirits, because before that I was an atheist. I didn't really believe in God for many years. Um, I was brought up actually as a Jehovah's Witness, and which is a very religious, you could call it a sect if you want. And when I was about 16, I kind of left that path, understanding that it wasn't right for me. It didn't resonate, and then I stopped believing in God for a long time. And then about 10 years ago, I found myself actually very ill physically. And because doctors couldn't really do anything for me, I turned to Amazonian medicine. I turned to ayahuasca and Cambo, which healed me physically and then opened me up to the whole world of spirit. And I started to understand that there is God, that maybe it's not the God that I knew before, but that there is a force in nature that is bigger than us, that there is something in the universe that is bigger than us. And through ayahuasca and other Amazonian medicine, I understood and that we can communicate with the world of spirit. So and I understood also the God in me, that I was part of that superpower, that I was a part of it. I'm not God, but I am. There is a part of me that is divine in everyone, actually. And then so I understood, and then it left me curious. I wanted to know more. So I started looking into metaphysics and watching Joe Dispenza, and then I discovered Dolores Cannon, and I was like, wow, this woman is amazing. And I watched a few of her videos, and I was just completely in awe of what she was saying, and I was like, wow, we can access other dimensions, and we can go, and the concept of having past lives, reincarnation, the karma that we might carry from one life to the other, all that spoke to me so much. And I decided to learn how to do QHHT, because I was like, this is fantastic. Before I thought only with ayahuasca you could access these worlds, and then I realized that actually you could do it through hypnosis. And so I started I started to learn her technique. I did a few courses of QHHT, and then I continued on my path, and I keep on learning. Every day I learn more and more. So then also I did a course in theta healing, which is theta healing is another modality where through hypnosis we get to reprogram our mind. We get to let go of unconscious beliefs that are limiting us, that are blocking us today. So this is more a precise and directed technique. It's not so much about going into past lives, but you can also, but it's not so much about that. It's more directed technique. And then I also learned with Marissa Peer some of her technique, which is the rapid transformational therapy. I also researched a lot into Brian Weiss's work about past life regression. Yeah, you just keep on learning all the time, you know. I read a lot of Saint Germain as well, Saint Germain,
Mhm,
who talks about the I am presence, and
mhm.
it's wonderful, really profound spiritual work. So yes, I try to learn all the time, and today I mainly do past life regression, QHHT. I also do beyond quantum healing, which is a modality that we can do online, which is the same as past life regression or QHHT, but it's something that you do online. And for me, this modality, this therapy of past life regression I find it fantastic. To me, is the best because it is the client that will go and see for themselves and feel for themselves, and also get in touch with their higher self, their higher consciousness.
Yeah, I
And
wanted
that
to
was,
say,
yeah.
sorry, I wanted to say, because the session we did recently, I was very new. I had never done the past life regression.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, it does sort of, I had a lot of mind doubt and I didn't, you
Yeah.
question it, or I thought I'm not so visual, I won't see so much, or your mind
Uh-huh.
constantly works against it. But whatever you were doing and the way you speak and your cadence and your tone of voice was very relaxing. And it had a way of really, really calming me into this dream state, like you said. And I was like
Yes.
pleasantly surprised because I'm just generally an overthinker and I get so much in my head. But
Mm-hmm.
the way you were able to get me into that state, I was starting to trust slowly, like little by little, like my walls were coming
Yes.
down. And then by the end of it, I thought it was very fascinating when we did the part where you would ask me questions. We had
Mm-hmm.
called in my higher self, so you would ask me the questions when I was in that state. So I was essentially channeling my higher self, asking
Yes.
me these questions
Mm-hmm.
about life and events in this past life and how they apply to this life, certain traumas and things like that. But I found it very, very beneficial because it was very empowering and it taught me like,
Yes.
oh wow, I do really like this is all inside me. We're often taught to look outside or, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything, all our traumas, all our past lives. And like, it's right here when we're ready for it. But I found it very,
Yes.
and I think you have a gift with your voice, the way you speak too, very softly and the certain tone of voice that is very calming and relaxing and you can provide that safe space. So for me, that was eye-opening because I had never done it. So, um,
Yeah.
but do you find that a lot of your clients have similar experiences, like based on, the worst skeptics and also the experienced ones?
Yes. I think hypnosis allows us to put the ego aside. It allows us to bypass the ego and its opinions and its
Hmm.
doubts and its fears, and access the part of us, the higher self, the higher consciousness that is within us. And this higher consciousness is whole and it's pure and it's actually eternal. It's our spirit, it's our soul, it's the voice of our soul, it's the voice of our heart, it's our intuition. So, and that is always here. And the higher self is always at peace because it has so much experience and wisdom from the past experiences, from the past lives that it's lived in this dimension, in other dimensions. It knows so much and it has access to what you could call the Akashic records. It has access to all the knowledge in the world. So the higher self is always at peace. So when you can access the higher self, it's a really, at first it's always a shock for all my clients, you know. The first session is always like, wow, unbelievable, you know.
Mhm.
Like some people feel an expansion of the mind. Some people, while they're talking to their higher self, they see mandalas, or they see, or it talks to them in pictures, or it talks in their ear, you know. It can communicate in many, many ways, the higher self, but it's the part of us that is whole, that is pure, and that is always at peace. So when you can start to access this part of you, it just makes life a lot easier. And
Mhm.
it allows for the universe to create synchronicities, to create magic in your life. Because the ego is the one that blocks all the magic, the ego is constantly, is logical, it needs an explanation for everything, and it needs to know how things are going to happen. Otherwise it's not at peace. Otherwise it's the ego is always wondering, like, how is this going to happen? Is this really going to happen? It's always putting doubts on everything. And also it's not the ego. The biggest fear of the ego is to change. So when you do a therapy or a hypnosis session, uh, beforehand, the ego will put a huge amount of resistance because it knows that it's going to have to change, and it's the last thing it wants to do, right? So
Mhm.
that's why with hypnosis, we is different techniques that allow us to get to the higher self, to bypass the ego, to put it aside for the time that we're doing the session, and to just talk with the part of us that is whole, that is always at peace.
Yeah, I think I had that exact experience before our session. I was very
Yeah.
nervous, and we were saying how it's like you subconsciously know, something good might happen. You
Yeah.
might have something
Mhm.
profound. And I think also what you said about the higher self knows, like we have this obsession with control and the ego, but you kept saying to me in the
Yes.
session, like the first thing that pops into your head, trust that, like stop doubting the first thing that pops
Yeah.
in. But we're
Mhm.
so used to being in this kind of obsessive control mode all the time that we don't
Yes.
get to be in that mode of the higher self, which is like spontaneous and expressing and loving and just
Yeah.
beautiful.
Extremely loving.
Um, but that's why I think the work you do is so important, because in today's world, people have such a hard time just relaxing their nervous systems in the first place.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're in fight or flight all the time, watching the news cycles and the way people are, the stress, that whatever craziness is going on in the world. Um, so it's almost like you have these kind of key codes, and your method in your sessions, your unique brand of Esther, like to almost like disarm that monkey mind, or kind of,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So
It's to disarm the monkey mind. Exactly. It's because in the life that in the systems that we're living now, we're constantly in survival mode.
mhm,
And survival mode is useful, but in a way, it's also what is blocking us from our abundance, you know, because you can't be in survival mode and be abundant at the same time.
yeah,
So you need to be at peace to let the universe give you the gifts and the abundance that is your birthright. We're all meant to be prosperous and abundant, but we have programs from childhood, from our education, from work. We're all constantly trying to fit into a mold, into society, into trying to prove ourselves all the time, trying to, and also trying to achieve all the time. um you know, and when we've achieved one goal, we're like, okay, well, that's done, so where's the next one, you know? And we're constantly on that wheel, you know, on the hamster wheel. Whereas the higher self, it knows why it's here, you know. The higher self is completely at peace. It knows that things will unfold in the best way possible. It knows that there's a way. It knows our full potential, and it knows the purpose of our mission in this lifetime. It knows where it's going. And so the higher self is at peace. It's at peace. And it's very simple in the end. It's there's nothing complicated about it. But and also the higher self the part of us that is the divine part of us, is the God in us. So it's constantly connected to higher powers, you know, to God itself, to nature. So the higher self, it has nothing to worry about,
Yeah, and I think
you know?
from what we talked about in my session, it seems like real suffering is just being ignorant to that. Real suffering is when you just
Yes,
don't surrender to that flow. It's painful because you're
yes,
just living in this forgetfulness of like everything's okay. Like I'm gonna be fine. Everything's love. We're all good all the time. But we
yes,
just always it's so simple, but we always forget. We always
yes.
get crazy, you know, and but I'm wondering if there
It's the
was
programming that we have that. So
yeah,
basically, our ego is programmed with
yeah.
unconscious beliefs that that direct our life until we make them conscious. Is what Carl Jung was saying. He was saying that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That's what Carl Jung used to say. As in, sorry, it's a lot.
No, it's okay.
There's a helicopter or something going on.
Oh, yeah.
But until we make the unconscious conscious, it does direct our life. It forces us to behave in a certain way. It forces us into addiction, into certain patterns of behavior, or a poverty mindset, or a lack mindset, or a sense of unworthiness.
So do you see these types of patterns can sometimes in your sessions like ca carry across lifetimes with these people?
Yes, yeah, they do, because when something is not resolved in a lifetime, when there's yeah, when a I mean, it depends also what your soul has come here to learn, you know. Sometimes we come here to learn suffering, and we have a life of suffering, or
Hmm.
we come here to learn emotions, or to learn how to get out of suffering. Most of us have come in this lifetime for that, to for the consciousness to be able to evolve. It has to get out of suffering. It has
Hmm.
to get out of the lack mentality. But until you discover what these beliefs are, you can't work on them. You can't release them.
Yeah.
So those beliefs of this lack mentality, poverty mentality, um, martyr mentality, that I have to suffer to be worth something, or you know, um, until we discover all these beliefs, they will come and they will transpire, and they will act for us. They will direct the ego, right? But
Yeah, and
when you discover them and discover what they are, and you can release them, and you know, I mean, they're there for a reason. They're there to teach us, right? So actually, our burden is our training. You
mhm.
know, you know. So once you know what the training is, once you know that once you can let go of these of these unconscious beliefs, or once you can bring them up to the surface and make them conscious, then they have a lot less power on you, and then you become the creator of your life. Then you that's why these sessions are so empowering, because it's not like a medium telling you, oh, I could see you had a past life in Egypt and you were doing this and that, you know. It's like no, you see that past life in Egypt. You see the emotions, the lessons, that because every life has a lesson and a purpose, right? So when you understand what your soul has been learning in those past lives, or in those parallel lives, because really in the universe there is no time, right? So everything happens simultaneously. So when you can understand the lesson of that past life, then you can apply it in your life now. Then you have the ability, that capacity, and then you have rewired your brain to understand that this is not a fatality, it's just a lesson. And you just need to detach from the emotion, the suffering, and just take the lesson and go, oh, okay, now I get it, and now I can act, react, and behave differently.
Yeah, and I
And
think
it's when
what's
you start to behave differently that your world start to change around you. When you start to react differently, perceive reality in a different way. That's the whole point, is to perceive reality in a different way. So
Yeah.
when you can start doing that, then your whole life start changing in every aspect, your job, your relationships, your relationship with yourself, with others.
And I think the most important part about these sessions is that people get the real visceral experience of it. Like they're really feeling it with their heart. They're not just seeing it, you're feeling it with your whole body and your whole nervous system.
Yes.
That's
Uh-huh.
the intended effect of sort of going into that calmer theta state. And
Yes.
because, you know, like you were saying, that those emotions really are stored in you and you have to release them, or else you
Yes.
just kind of keep falling into the same patterns. But I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to just switch gears for a second about, because we've talked a lot about sort of family trauma, breaking out of sort of family things like that, or being the outsider. You're saying being raised as a Jehovah's Witness and you didn't quite
Yes.
fit
Uh-huh.
fit with your family as well. But how has that um, served you and sort of propelled you into your healing journey? Like, what positive things have you taken from it, even through all the storms and the hell?
Yes, so I'm actually extremely grateful. I suffered a lot. Well, my ego suffered a lot, but today I'm actually extremely grateful for my journey, because basically I was, as a kid and later on in life as well, I took that on, that I wasn't allowed to be myself, because I had to be this little girl that was perfect, that believed in God. I was preaching at school and I had a total faith in God. And then I lost that faith completely, and I went completely the other way. And I was like, there is no God. And
Mhm.
I became an atheist, and I was strongly against any religions. And then when I found spirit again, it was like a journey with God, basically. It was like discovering who God really is and who I really am and the God inside me. The religion didn't allow me to find the God inside me, because it was always the God was outside, and you
Mhm.
fear God also. Whereas actually, God is inside you, it's experiencing itself through you. And the more you love yourself, the more you honor the life force within you. And also, it taught me to love myself. For many, many years, I didn't even know the concept of loving oneself. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what does that mean? How do you even do it? I didn't have the capacity to love myself for a long time, until I found the divinity inside me, the higher self. And I was like, wow, there is a part of me that is always at peace. There is a part of me that is full of love. There is a part of me that sees all my beauty.
Mhm.
And then you stop looking for validation outside. Then you don't really need it, doesn't really matter what people think. And then you have your own personal relationship with God. So I think that this whole journey of the religion, or the becoming an atheist and coming back to spirit or spirituality, it was just really strong in me. It was obviously it was the path, that it was the mission that I had to accomplish in this life, to come back to the real divine inside me and outside.
So you would say the pain of that, of feeling like an outsider or feeling like you couldn't connect with your family, was drove you into more solitude and you
It
became more
drove me into a
self-reliant.
solitude that was required, because to start reprogramming yourself, you need to stop the external influences for a while,
Mhm. Yeah.
because our environment has a huge influence on us.
Mhm.
And also, it taught me to affirm myself, because obviously, um, when I left that religion, for my mom, and I mean, my dad was never really in the religion, but my mom was, still is. And for her, everything I was doing was wrong, because it wasn't under the cover of that religion. I was constantly going against the grain. And then I realized that actually her opinion, I mean, she's entitled to it, but her opinion is her opinion. And I can I needed to find what I truly wanted, what my soul truly wanted. I had to find my own path. So in a way, it was leading me. It's funny because it's kind of paradoxical, but it was leading me against religion so I could find God. You know, it's funny, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what other, I know we've talked about this sort of path of authenticity and finding the I am.
Yes.
What else have you found useful that you could share with people that has gotten you to where you are today in a more healed, empowered state?
Actually, yeah, last year I read Saint Germain, the 33 discourses on the I am presence. And obviously before that I'd met the higher self, you know, through my sessions. I received also many sessions. So you know, and in my meditations also now I have access to my higher self, because really it's just a muscle that we need to find and strengthen. This connection is in every one of us, but just we're not aware of it. But most people aren't aware of it. So once you find it, then you need to strengthen that connection. And then last summer I was reading the 33 discourses on the I am presence by Saint Germain. And this is all about incarnating your higher self, being in your heart, taking responsibility for everything that you do. And it's not saying that you're there's no guilt about creating something that is imperfect. It's just showing you the things you have to change. It's just because we are constantly creating our life, like the universe is constantly mirroring who we are inside. That's the law of attraction, is that we don't manifest what we want, but we manifest what we are. You know, the universe is constantly mirroring what you have inside and amplifying it in your reality so you can see it, right? So the more at peace you are with yourself, the more it's going to create a life of peace. And the more empowered you will be to manifest all your desires. But first, you have to realize that you're the one creating it. And that's the I am presence. That's the higher self. So you constantly have to come back to the higher self and go, okay, so I created this situation, especially when you find yourself in a terrible situation, you know, it's good to do that. It's good to go, oh, to take the reins back, to go, okay, I created this situation so I can get myself out of it. Right?
Yeah.
So that was very powerful to work with the I am presence. I think for me, it was the most profound work, you know, and it's what led me to continue on my path, on my journey. I call it the diamond path because it's a path of purity, the purity of intention, you know. I have the intention that I serve through my sessions. I'm in service to humanity, but I'm not here to manipulate people. It's not for my own power. It's to help humanity. It's not it's not out of a desire to control, right? It's to help people regain control. Right?
And how would you describe what the I am is for people that don't know the I am presence?
Yeah, the I am presence is the higher self, is the part of you that creates from is the God in you. It's the divine part of you. So you have to, and it's always going to be the ego is always going to try and fight that. The ego is always going to find reasons to say, oh no, you're wrong, or you can't do that. You don't have the ability to do that. But actually, when you work with the I am presence, you are the magician. The I am presence is the one that creates. It's the one that allows all the abundance to come in. It's the one that is constantly in. It's like the higher self is the one that is constantly in connection to the higher, to God, to the higher consciousness, to the powers of creation, right? So it's just the I am presence is that little part of God that you have within you.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of those books too. I love those books, the Saint Germain
Yeah.
discourses, and I think it's like this divine authority, and it's knowing your authority as a creator, as a piece of God.
Yes.
But all this healing work that we've been talking about and all these modalities, it's like there is a lot of peeling down and peeling off of illusions that
Exactly.
told us that we're not powerful or told us that we're
Yes.
subservient to something else, money or poverty mindset or
Mm.
anything. Um, like you're saying, you really are the magician, and it's a revelation when you start to learn that.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you can really just speak it and speak it into reality, speak it into your body and your cells, like he talks about in those books.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's the miracle of existence, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to be
It's the
you.
part of you that can heal you as well from, or keep you healthy away from
Yeah.
any illness. It's the part of you that, um, yeah, it's the part of you that brings wealth, health, good relationships, self-love. When you find the higher self, you find self-love. Because you find, how can you not love the God inside you, that magician that can create anything, that can heal you, that can bring you the best in life, that can bring out your best potential. So then it's incredibly empowering, incredibly empowering.
Yeah. And across all your sessions, would you say most people, is there one thread or common theme that underlies most of it?
I would say a lot
Or
of people suffer from lack mentality for sure.
yeah.
I think it's the illness of our society, that we never have enough. Um, and most people also, I mean, we all have different missions in life, but I would say a lot of people, when I ask, what is the purpose of your life now? A lot of people say, I've come here to help others. I think there is um, an inner sense of service
Hmm.
to others. I think we're all here for each other, basically. And whether we want it or not, we're all here to help each other evolve, you know, as mirrors, as teachers, as inspiration. Um, but yeah, even the people that want to control and manipulate the whole world, in a way, I mean, I know like at first hand, you think, oh, they're just bringing a lot of suffering, but actually they're just showing you that you've submitted your power, and actually you don't have to, you know?
So it's like a catalyst to show you where you need to take your power
Yes,
back. Yeah.
yes, uh-huh.
Like
Yeah,
when
it's a catalyst, yeah.
you had described last year to me that you were very sick and bedridden for a while, right? For about a year or
For I mean, for all my, yes, it, I went through periods of sickness because of mainly depression, mainly
yeah.
depression that because I had because I was brought up through that religion where I felt like I couldn't be myself. I was like, well, what's the point of being here if I can't be me,
Yeah.
So for a long time, I was depressed. I went through times where I was even suicidal, where I just didn't
Yeah.
want to be part of this world anymore. And I had a profound disgust for humanity, but that was also a disgust of myself that basically I had submitted my power to something else.
Yeah.
And so then I had the sickness. It reminded me, it was like, no, but you can get over this. You can take your power back. You can heal yourself, and when you realize that you can heal yourself, you're like, wow, my body is amazing,
Mhm.
my mind is amazing. You start having a lot of respect for yourself. You're like, wow, I can do this, you know so, but we all can. It's not just me. I'm not talking from a narcissistic point of
Mhm.
view.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just saying that we all need to find that power within us.
for sure.
We
And
all need to connect with the I am presence.
you had a lot of these catalytic events, with your family and
Yes.
just being around this type of stuff. And knowing you, I can say, you are a very kind and open-hearted, loving person. So I'm just saying that to say, like, yeah, and then you say you've been depressed and sad and you didn't want to be here. And I think a lot of people share that experience because they're told
Yeah,
that, oh, there's just something wrong with you. Just take the pills, do this, whatever. You're not
yeah,
motivated
exactly. Yeah,
enough. But really, it's just like, it's hard to keep your heart open, this whole life and all the roller coasters and ups and downs and, you know, slings and
challenge. Yeah,
arrows, the being ostracized or hate from your family. It's an extremely painful experience. And I think a lot
yeah,
of people in this world, even popular culture, popular spirituality can be very invalidating because even that is in a lack mentality because it's like, oh, you just have to
yeah.
accumulate more, work harder, blah, blah, blah. And it's
Yeah,
not
have a
hard.
better body, have a nicer car. You need to
Yeah.
always impress others. Why? No,
Yeah.
impress yourself. That's what matters. When you can impress yourself, that's you've won. You've won the game. But also when you think about it, that if everybody can find this I am presence, this magician in themselves, um, then people are not so easily manipulated, or they can't be so easily under control. So um, it would create for sure a better society where people are more in the heart, where they're more compassionate, where they're helping each other, but they wouldn't be so controllable. So you can
Yeah.
understand that the powers, like as in the governments, all the people that are trying to control us, they don't want you to find that magician in you. So through education, through school, I mean, at school, you learn to be guilty. You learn that you're just not good enough. You learn that you're not worthy. You learn that, you have to pass tests all the time. And it's never enough. So there's so much
Yeah.
programming that we need to undo before we can get to that magician inside.
And what would you say to people like from this work that you've done, when you're in your darkest place and you are alone, you're sick, you're doing the work. We've done some of that work together when we were on that retreat, like just being in that
Yeah,
really dark, deep place of hell, essentially,
yeah.
when you're all alone and you have nothing else, what propels you forward? Like what's just a simple action or things that you do when it's just you're in that deep, dark void? Like what advice could you offer to those people?
Well, I would say that um, life, or the way you get out of that deep dark void, is by stopping to look outside for help. Is In a way, the universe put you in that deep dark void to say that you're on your to say you have to take responsibility for this. It's your responsibility to make yourself happy. It's your responsibility to make yourself well. It's your responsibility to look after yourself, to protect yourself.
To love
So
yourself. Yeah.
stop looking, yeah, and love yourself. Stop looking outside, because nobody can give you that. If you don't have it inside you, you need to find it inside you, and it's there. It's there. It's just the
Yeah.
ego will never find it. The ego will always go the wrong way. But it's really um, suffering is here to, I wouldn't say get rid of the ego, because the ego is your personality, and I think it's very useful as well. Like the ego, but it just needs to be in the right place. It can't take over. If the ego takes over, then you have a life of suffering.
Yeah. And I think
So
um, sorry.
yeah,
That's evident in like even modern dating and divorce rates and things like that. It's just people, it's almost like a cultural norm to be more
yeah,
codependent.
yes, hmm,
So people are more kind of superficial, shallow, base relationships more on money and practicalities like children. Um, because not as many people do that work to get solid within first. So they don't even know
yes.
what they want, or they're just choosing out of desperation or
And also the people, we all have unconscious beliefs, um of lack, of unworthiness. and we're looking for validation outside. So most relationships are based on need, you know, they're not based on really celebrating the other and or respect. You know, it would be a lot healthier if we had relationships based on respect, on wanting to share the love rather than finding the faults in the other, so we don't have to blame ourselves, you know, so we can justify our own behavior by saying, oh yeah, it's their fault, you know. Yeah, most relationships are based on need, and that's not love, that's
Mhm.
just a lack mentality.
And I wanted to touch on, so you're living currently near Tulum in Mexico, Tulum, and
Yes.
could you describe a little bit how that is for people living near a site that's sacred and that land?
Yeah, so here it is. I would say that the land here is very powerful. The Mayans have left marks of this power through the pyramids. And you can see that this place is like a portal. It's like an amplifier of everything, you know, the good and the bad. And for anybody that understands energy and energy work, it's a great place to come to, because it amplifies whatever you're doing, you know. So it makes it easier to manifest certain things, but the good and the bad. So it doesn't have like an agenda. It's just an amplifier. So it'll amplify whatever you tell it to, right?
Mm.
So yeah, finding myself here. I mean, I found myself here in the pandemic. That well, basically, I didn't want to be in London, and here in Mexico, I had friends that were over here, and they were like, "Hey, come over here," and you know, we wait for 3 months until all this is over, and then we'll go back to London. And in the end, you know, it took a lot more than 3 months.
Yeah.
And in the end, I decided to settle here. You know, I found freedom in this land, I have to say. Um, and also, for me, it was the start of a new cycle. Even though I wasn't aware of it, it kind of happened. It happened just by chance, I would say, but I think it's my higher self that led me here, you know. So I could also, because also in London, I was in a different profession. You know, I was a costume designer, which was a great career for a long time, and in a way allowed me to discover human psychology from a different point of view, you know, because I was creating characters, you know, working on film sets where you create worlds that don't exist, you know. So it was a different way of manifesting reality or different realities. So in a way, I think it was also part, you know, it makes a lot of sense to me that it happened like that. But at the same time, I think it was time for me to start concentrating on my spiritual work, on my life of service, you know. And being in Tulum here, obviously, there is no industry to make films. You know, doesn't exist this industry here. So maybe in Mexico City, but not here. So here I had to concentrate on my spiritual work and on my spiritual path. So it was like, without telling me, it was like, okay, we're putting you here, so now you can really start your work, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you needed the space and the distance.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And would you say, speaking of cycles, like since 2019, I mean, I know we've been in a certain cycle and we've all been doing a lot of work, but do you feel a new cycle for yourself or the world beginning now? What do you see
Definitely.
this in this
I
next few years?
really, yeah, I really feel the age of Aquarius coming on, you know. I really feel that people and me, you know, I mean, I really felt last year that it was the end of a cycle, because
Mhm.
I started losing a lot of things. Um, you know, I went through a very difficult year of having to lose everything to make room for the new, you know. everything that didn't serve me anymore, I had to say goodbye. Friends, even I lost some cats. I mean, it was terrible, but and so yeah, now I feel like with Pluto, I mean, really astrologically, it makes a lot of sense. With Pluto moving into Aquarius now, I feel that people are waking up to the potential of their freedom, you know. They're like, oh wow, I don't have to live this life of in the matrix of going to work and living for work. And you know, I think people are starting to realize that there is a path to freedom of expression. I mean, obviously there's a lot of revolts as well, a lot of war going on right now, but that's because things need to come up still to the surface. You know, there's a massive purge going on all over humanity right now. We're letting go of a lot of negativity, and unfortunately it transpires like this, you know. But I can feel that people are also that they've had enough of war. You know, that's not the
Yeah.
way they want to live. They don't want to be at war every day with their boss, with their family, with their, you know, the people have had enough of that. So unfortunately for humanity, we seem to always have to go to the worst before we can change, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what we're doing now. But I can see that people are opening up. I can feel it in myself. I know for sure that I'm starting a new cycle now, and I can see how things are a lot easier. Before there was a lot of barriers. There was a lot of in Tulum. I tried so hard, you know, for 3 years I couldn't actually do YouTube because there was so much noise with the constructions, with the dogs, with someone having a party at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, with, you know, so much noise, so much interference to my work. And I feel like now, since maybe like it's not that long ago, to be honest, like since like 3 months ago, the beginning of the year, things have become a lot easier.
Mhm.
So now I feel like, oh yeah, I can do my work without being interfered so much. I can concentrate. I don't have to deal with so much noise. Yeah, I feel like the interference is kind of past, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
I feel like now it's a new cycle. Now I'm more able to do what I want to do.
yeah, the path is being cleared and there's some wind at your
Yeah.
back. There's a momentum.
Mhm.
And what would you do you have any advice for people like that are in that kind of void period, like you just said, they just cleared out tons of stuff of their life, lost relationships and things
Yeah.
like that, but they're still waiting for the new, so they're kind of in between worlds?
Yeah. So I know the void is the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that you know, even if it was uncomfortable, it's not there anymore, and you're in a place where you don't know anything. You sometimes you don't even know what you like anymore. You don't even know what you want anymore, because and you're in the grieving of your old life as well. Like you've had to let go of so many things, like friends, certain activities that you like to do that don't mean anything to you anymore. Like, so, you know, it's your taste begins to change. Certain types of music that you liked before, now you don't like it so much. There's a lot of things that change, and I think it's important to allow for that time, that period of grieving, you know, because we are human, you know, and we need time to evolve, you know, like the body needs time to build new cells. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's good to rest, take it easy, don't make big plans, you know, wait a bit. You can, the big plans, you can make them later, but for now, just try and be in the moment, you know, and they say that patience is enjoying the time to prepare. So really,
Mhm.
we need to enjoy the journey. Like, if things aren't here today, if what we want isn't here today, the relationship, the house, the new job, the new way of living, you know, if things aren't here today, it's because we're not ready yet. So when we're ready, it'll be here. you know? So we need to
Yeah.
prepare for the new. So preparing for the new, it means letting go, making room of things that don't serve us. So sometimes even changing wardrobe or, you know,
Hmm.
making a new identity.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also, yeah, educating ourselves, um, letting go of the beliefs that don't serve us anymore. A lot of letting go, you know. It's a lot of, yeah, a lot
Yeah. I
of
feel.
letting go to allow the to come in, you know. So I would
Yeah.
say if you're in that void, just be patient with yourself. Like be kind to yourself. Rest, take naps. Don't try and achieve so much right now because it's not a time for achieving. It's a time for resting, for learning, for
Mm.
preparing, you know. So do get yourself as fit as possible, do a lot of exercise, go and reconnect to nature. Nature is incredibly nurturing. So go and
Yeah.
watch the plant grow, like uh, go and look for butterflies, go and watch the animals, the birds, um, you know, look at the sky, the clouds, like just try and be reconnect to nature.
Yeah.
Take baths. If you're not in nature, if you live in a city, like, you know, take a bath.
Are you there? Oh, I lost you. Damn. Oof. Oops. Hey there. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
What happened?
My computer fell into the void. No, it ran out of
Okay.
power.
That's what I figured. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Sorry.
All right, it's okay. I just kept it recording so I can just cut that out later.
Yes.
Um, but
Hello.
yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Ah, yeah.
Now I'm back. Okay.
No, I can't hear you.
I'm not talking.
All right.
Um, so I'm glad that there's a new cycle beginning for us and for many because it does feel like the work is finally starting to pay off, just even at a global collective level for all the people doing this work.
Uh-huh.
Um, like you say, diamond path. There's a diamond path, that road less traveled that we've taken. So it's beautiful to see that you're starting to have relief and happiness and more empowerment
Yeah.
after going
Hmm.
through so much. And many. So I'm glad that you are doing this work
So many of
and
us.
helping.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think times have been extremely hard, really pushing us to the limit
Yeah.
recently. Uh, and probably still, some people are still going through that, there will be a time for everybody for their new cycle. So, but yes, I think as a collective, we're definitely starting a new era. Um, and we need to be proud of ourselves to have survived the last 2 3
Oh
years,
yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
And and like you're saying, everyone's on their own time frame almost because and we can't wait.
Yeah.
We can't wait. We can't be martyrs. We can empower ourselves, find that I am presence within and lead
Yeah.
the way, really. You're setting an example and others will
Inspire others. Yeah.
they can't see until they
Hmm.
see. You have to be truly ready and willing to look inside yourself and heal,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
um
Unfortunately, we cannot take everybody, we can't take anyone, just ourselves,
yeah.
into this new cycle. So, but to access this new consciousness, we need to do the work, and that's the only way. And so we can the thing that we can do to help others is to inspire them, is to show them there's a different way, there's a different potential, that things can happen, yeah, in a different way. That's all we can, that's the seeds that we can plant, but we can't do the work for others. Everybody is, it's up to each and every individual to do their own work.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
So thank you for coming on and talking. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about in the future, but I really appreciate you and I appreciate all the work that you are doing and just knowing you, and you are like that light for me because I do think of you as a very authentic person, and you're very
Thank
upfront
you.
about your journey and the ugly and the good and the beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, thanks a lot for being on, and I'll leave all the links and stuff for you guys to contact to look at Esther's work and contact her about sessions or anything like that. I'll have that
Yeah.
available for you. So
Mhm.
thanks so much, Esther.
Thank you, Peter. It was really a pleasure to share this with you. And yeah, I hope we do it again.
Yeah.
And I wish
All
you
right.
all a beautiful day and sending love to everyone. Keep going, keep shining, guys.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.